Stargate Universe. What really happened after the cliffhanger at the end of Season 2? Part 1. The ending and what the writers actually had planned for the series. So Section 1 of Part 1, the beginning. Today we are talking about one of the biggest cliffhangers in science fiction history. If you're a Stargate fan, you remember exactly where you were when this happened. You know, Eli Wallace was standing alone on the bridge of an ancient ship, billions of light years from Earth. Everyone else fast asleep in stasis pods. With his pod, well, his chosen pod broken, and he had 2 weeks to fix it, or else he would, well, not survive. So, and then after that, nothing. The series stopped right there. So let me remind you guys of the situation. So Season 2 ends with an episode called Gauntlet. The Destiny is being chased by drone ships that just won't stop, and they track the ship even in FTL, and the crew are exhausted. So Eli comes up with this plan, right? Jump into the empty space between galaxies. No stars, no planets, nothing. And the drones might follow them or might not, you know? But there's a problem. The trip will take 3 years, and the Destiny doesn't have enough power to keep life support running for that long. So the crew goes into stasis, one by one. We see them climb into those pods. Young, Rush, Chloe, Greer, DJ, all of them. But there's one pod that's broken, and it belongs to Eli. Well, he volunteers to stay awake and try to fix it. He has 2 weeks before the life support system starts shutting down. So the last shot of the series is Eli standing alone looking out at the stars. He's scared, but he's also determined. And he had that faint smile on his face. And then, as I said, nothing. That's where the show ends. So for over 15 years now, that's where the story actually stopped. But here's something most fans actually don't know. When they filmed that ending, the cast and crew did not think it was the series finale. They fully expected to actually come back for Season 3. So in fact, many of them were actually away filming when they found out the show cancelled, and they learnt about it through Twitter of all things. Can you imagine reading that you don't have a job anymore on Twitter? So anyway, the writers didn't have a plan B. Unlike Stargate SG-1 or even Stargate Atlantis, which got a proper ending, SGU just stopped. But looking back, the creators actually think that the stasis pods were the perfect way to end this one. The characters aren't dead, they're not even aging, they're just paused, and you can always come back later to press play. And that's exactly what makes this discussion between you and I possible today, because the story is still there, waiting to continue. Well, possibly continue. Alright, and then next up, Section 2. Technically the middle, what the writers planned for the series. Now let's talk about the man who gave us the most answers, Joseph Mallozzi. So Mallozzi was a writer and executive producer on Stargate Universe. He worked closely with Brad Wright and Robert Cooper, the creators of the show. And in the years since the show ended, Mallozzi has been incredibly open with the fans. He shared details on his blog, on Reddit, and in interviews about what writers were planning. He gave us not 1, not 2, not even 3, but 6 different scenarios they were considering for the Season 3 premiere. And right now, I would like to go through each one of them with you. So scenario 1, the deep sleep. Okay, so this is the simplest solution. Eli fixes the broken stasis pod and climbs in just in time. They all wake up together 3 years later, alright? But there's a twist. Mallozzi said they weren't locked into 3 years specifically. They could have done any amount of time, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, it doesn't really matter. Now imagine waking up to find everyone that you knew were dead. The world has completely changed, and you're not just lost in space, you're lost in time as well. That brings us to scenario number 2, isolation. What if Eli couldn't fix the pod? He still has to survive, and there's one resource that might help, the shuttle. So the Destiny has a shuttle with its own independent life support, power, air, fuel, it's got it all. So Eli seals off a small section of the ship near the shuttle. He reroutes all power to keeping that one small area alive, and then he spends, 3 years completely alone. Think about that, right? No human contact for 3 years. This could have been an incredible character study. We would have seen Eli change in real time. Get harder, tougher, maybe a little broken. Scenario 3 is going digital. So this one is a little bit darker than the other two. Eli can't fix the pod. He can't survive in the shuttle, and he's running out of time. But you remember the interface chair, the one that lets you connect your mind to the ship's computer. What if Eli uploads his consciousness into Destiny? His body dies, but his mind lives forever in the ship. And he wouldn't be alone. Jin is already in there. Amanda Perry is also in there. They'd be together in this digital world. So when the crew wakes up, Eli could control the ship with his thoughts. He could appear on screens. He could be the ultimate guide. Malazzi said the idea was mostly safe for a potential wrap-up movie, too big of a change for a TV series, but perfect for one final movie. And then we have scenario 4, Earth Rescue. Now this is the fan service option. While the Destiny is crossing the void, Earth doesn't sit around doing nothing. Carter, McKay, maybe Jonas Quinn from Langara, they figure out how to dial the Destiny directly. They send a rescue team with a ZPM. Who leads the mission? Probably Colonel Telford. So this would have been amazing for fans, seeing Carter and McKay again. But Malazzi called this one less satisfying. Why? Because it takes the problem out of the crew's hands. Having Earth swoop in to save them feels a little bit too easy, considering all the attention the first 2 seasons brought in. Alright, we're almost there, folks. This is scenario number 5, Novan Rescue. Remember the Novans? In season 2, the crew discovered a planet where humans lived. Not just any humans, they were descendants of the crew themselves. A version of the crew was sent back in time 2,000 years and founded a colony. Now imagine centuries have passed, the Novans have developed interstellar ships, and they know about Destiny, its part in their history. So when the Destiny goes silent, the Novans come looking. They bring a fleet to rescue their ancestors. It's kind of weird. Anyway, sounds great, right? Wrong, because their motives aren't pure. They want the Destiny for themselves. The ship is ancient, powerful, full of technology. So suddenly the crew's own descendants become their greatest enemy. This was Malazzi's personal favorite, a human military force with a personal connection to everyone on the ship. It's tragic, it's personal, and most importantly, it saves money on CGI aliens. Now this is the final one, scenario number 6, the alien rescue. So the last scenario involves aliens. Maybe the Nakai, those blue aliens who wanted Destiny's secrets, maybe survivors of the Ursini, or maybe something completely new. Brad Wright had an uber cool idea about energy-based beings. Picture this, right? During a refueling stop at a star, the Destiny picks up energy beings. Eli, alone on the ship, starts seeing strange lights. He thinks he's going crazy, but eventually he realizes they're real, they're alive, and they can help by providing all the power the Destiny needs. This is the most sci-fi option. It's also the least developed. So tell me, which of the 6 scenarios sounds the best to you? Vote in the comments, 1 through to 6. I want to see which one the fans prefer. And now for section number 3, the end. The time jump debate. So before we wrap up part 1, we need to talk about time. One of the biggest decisions the writers faced was, how long should the crew sleep? 3 years is the obvious answer. That's how long the journey would have taken. But Malazzi argued for something longer, much longer. So here's his thinking, right? If the crew wakes up after only 3 years, not much has changed on Earth. Their loved ones are still there, the world is still basically the same. But if they were to wake up 10 years, 20 years, maybe 100 years, or even longer, everything changes. Imagine calling Earth and finding out your wife remarried. Your kids are grown. Your parents are dead. The world moved on without you. Or if it's 100 years later, you don't know anybody on Earth. So that drama, that's the kind of emotion Gut Punch SU was known for. So Malazzi specifically mentioned liking the idea of a 100-year jump. Everyone the crew knew would be gone. Earth would be completely different. The characters would have to rebuild their lives from scratch. And here's the genius part in that. They wouldn't even know how long they'd been asleep until they tried to call home. Can you imagine the horror of dialing Earth and hearing a stranger's voice? So let me summarize part 1 here quickly. So we have 6 scenarios. A deep sleep, isolation, going digital, a Earth rescue, a Novan rescue, or an alien rescue. And we have a time jump variable. 3 years, 10 years, 100 years, maybe even 1,000 years, The writers had all these options on the table. They were ready to craft something special. Anyway, in part 2, we're going to talk about what the actors wanted. David Blue had a hilarious pitch for Eli's return. And we'll also look at what would have happened to the other characters, TJ, Park, Chloe, and more. But for now, I want to hear from you guys. If you had to pick one scenario for season 3, which would it be? And how long should the time jump have been? 3 years? 100 years? You get the message. So let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss part 2, 3, and so forth for this series.